Hey, hey.
Well, hello, and this is why all my classes and everything else are asynchronous rather than being live. So here we go. First and foremost, welcome everyone to the first episode of Peering at the Outlands. We were joking earlier, thinking of the show as like Hot Ones minus the food and the pithy commentary, but really wanted to take a moment to thank their majesties for giving us the opportunity to kind of have these chats and be able to reach out to the populace during these kind of interesting times, just giving us a way to introduce members of the Order of Chivalry and hopefully get to some of your questions, some of your comments, and really just look at this as an opportunity to have a conversation. I know that everybody really kind of thinks about the SCA as those fireside chats or those opportunities to really kind of just sit down and get to know each other either through those or through the long drives across the known world. So to that particular end, that's kind of where we are going with this and what we hope to really kind of accomplish with some of these things. So another big thanks to the tech crew running everything. So Carl for his great introduction for everything. Runa was there kind of asking some good questions and kind of curious who the Outlands and why the Outlands. We've got Shiloh and Edric stepping in to go ahead and take over the tech and really doing a great job on the back end of everything, making these possible. So without them, we really wouldn't have any idea what we're doing. All right. So getting on to the particular topic at hand, the first guest for this evening is Sir Germanicus. So thank you so much for agreeing to come and have this conversation.
Well, it's a pleasure, Finn, and it's good to chat with you again.
It's going downhill quickly. All right. I appreciate that. Yeah, a little snark never hurt anybody, right?
Well, yeah, sure.
So when we started reaching out for this, it was one of those, talk to anybody in the chivalry, talk to folks that are interesting to you, people that you know, people that you don't know. And one of the things I thought about is you are the newest member of the chivalry for the Outlands. And so a person that in all likelihood, people at least could pick out of a lineup. So I figured that'd be as good a place as any to kind of start and just kind of open up our conversation that way. So one of the first things, and I had kind of written a note to you about this, was I really don't remember where or when we met. I kind of think it might have been at Battlemore, but it really just, you suddenly kind of appeared within the realm of people I know and you're local. So it suddenly was like, I can't imagine a time when you weren't here. So tell me when that happened.
So we may have met briefly at Battlemore, but I'm pretty sure it was actually at Grace and Valor. It was one of the first events I got to come to in the Outlands. My knight, Zachariah, was showing me around. I think at one point he introduced me to you, and you were wrestling someone. It sounds, I don't know if that's familiar to you, but that was...
It sounds completely accurate.
Yeah. It was a great introduction. You looked great.
Oh, thanks. I can't believe this year has been kind, but no, I'll take the past accolades. That's fine.
Oh, it's all right. I know you can still stab me. It's all right.
Yeah, I mean, I can still do that. It's definitely this break and this time away kind of thing. I'll look at my armor and I'll kind of go, I should check and make certain there isn't anything living in the bag. But aside from that, I really kind of haven't done anything. So
I found out that there was something living in my bag, and it was my garb. And I fought a little bit, but I've been taking a break to try and fix some of my armor. That's been going slow.
Yeah, no, I understand that one. It's I'm certain I'll fix it before next practice. And
we got plenty of time.
Yeah, I know, but it's never going to happen. It'll be the Tuesday at 5 o'clock, right before the 6 o'clock practice, and we'll be like, oh shit, I didn't ever actually prepare that, did I?
Yes, I completely get that. Yeah.
So then I had thought of this in essentially a story arc kind of thing. And this was, some of your history, some of the kind of present, and then also some of your future, just kind of looking at it as this really is kind of a time when we can, I don't know, reflect on what we have done and what we would like to continue doing and what we could possibly do better. So I guess, what was your arc for this? When did you start? Kind of where did you come from?
So I started in utero. I'm a second gen, so I was kind of born into the game. I was born out in Callantyre. I grew up going to Lily's. I'm learning to say as verbal pauses a whole bunch. So let's see. I guess I really started actively coming to events, like of my own volition, choosing to go to events. Once I could fight, I was 16, and it was kind of in the family to fight, but I found out I really liked it, and I just kept going from there. Yeah, it was pretty fun. I moved out here for college, not for fighting. Definitely wasn't for the fighting or for the fun people or anyone like that. It was just college. Definitely not all you cool folks. So.
Oh, I don't remember first meeting you, but I do remember meeting your mom and her giving a very stern, like, my son is coming out here for college. College is first. And then I seem to remember Matilda standing right there with the kind of like, college is first. And we all would, yes, ma'am, college is first.
Oh, froze. Oh yeah. No, that was actually spurred on by Sir Gabe, who is always the life of the party and was actually getting me out of my shell, which I appreciate still, Gabe. If you're listening, still awesome. Yeah, it was a good time.
You. Right on. Yeah. And then, so you've switched kingdoms and kind of, I've had the opportunity to go to Callantyre a little bit, went to the Winter War maneuvers, which was super fun. But do you still feel that there's a lot of inter-kingdom anthropology that's going on? Or do you kind of feel like because now you're of your own volition, you kind of just jump right in and there really isn't, I'm not going to say hang-ups or anything else, but you kind of just make your own path with that?
Well, it's also kind of a second gen thing too, to switch kingdoms so you can be your own person. So as soon as I was in the Outlands and after Zach and Gabe kind of got me comfortable with going and being a little more wild and having fun, I really did just kind of jump in from there. Coming from a kingdom, everyone knows who you are. So you always have this axe above your head of like, well, we'll tell blah, 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 because we know you. And that didn't really happen too much out here, luckily. So it worked out. And you get to make your own mistakes and learn from them that way.
Oh, right on. So I guess then a follow-up to that would really kind of be, you were made a peer in the Outlands. You're made a peer and then everything kind of shut down. So, Lily's would have possibly been the first opportunity for you to, go back home or whatever as a newly minted peer. And how do you think that would change some of the interactions with people? Or is it one of those, the people you're going to interact with had been anticipating that for a while? Or?
Well, a little column A, a little column B. There's definitely an expectation out there for me in particular. But I don't think it would have, or at least I hope it wouldn't have changed too many interactions. Maybe a little shoulder pat, and then we go back to just, talking about whatever. It would be very interesting. I am curious to see how that's going to work out too, but I'm just excited to hang out with people usually.
Right on. And so this actually can lead in perfectly to a question from Lord Call of Meridies. As the baby knight, is there any added pressure to prove yourself?
I think not as the baby knight, but maybe as a younger knight. There's definitely a lot of pressure. I kind of get both ends. I get, how do I say that? I have some of the hardest times getting people to understand that I know stuff. So especially as the baby knight and being a bit younger, I've been faced with challenges about how to go about reteaching or relearning in some cases things when it comes to showing people fighting technique or just chatting or just getting people to listen sometimes.
Okay. So that's a really great point. It's one that I haven't had to face. So, I mean, I came to the game fairly later in life and was already gray and, shiny up top kind of thing. So much so that the first time I actually met Duke Olaf, Bela and I had gone down and we were fighting in a little tournament. And I just hear this voice behind me like, hey, Bela, when did you start taking gray-haired squires? And it was one of those, oh, wait, I've heard of you. Okay, cool. That's fine. Whatever. So I imagine it would present a different challenge because you're, sprightly, youthful.
I'm bubbly. I can be bubbly.
You can do bubbly? Okay.
I rock it. Anything I got, I rock it.
Till the wheels fall off.
Exactly.
So then something else I was kind of curious about, and it's during this kind of time off, a number of people have taken the opportunity to learn about different personas or switch things around because we really kind of have the time to address these things. You know, generally, if we're going to events every single weekend, there's a practice or two during the week. Really kind of spread ourselves pretty thin, so you don't have that moment to stop and reflect and say, you know, who am I in the game, and who do I want to be, who do I want to portray within this? So you clearly have a Roman persona, but that's all I know about it. So what brought you to that?
Honestly, clothing. So I picked my persona because, again, I grew up at Lily's, and it was hot. It's hot and humid, and that is the perfect place to have no sleeves and like cut off shorts and just little sandals to run out around in. I picked my version of Roman also because I'm 200. What is this? 294 AD Roman. Mm-hmm. So I'm the end of days. I also had, as a kid, I really liked post-apocalyptic stuff. As an adult, still like post-apocalyptic stuff, despite our world sometimes. And
it's a living.
Yeah. It was my own personal joke. And then also, growing up in SCA, you have to negotiate a lot of situations. Originally, my persona is actually from modern-day Switzerland, so I was always neutral, too. Yeah, Ralia. It's cool. It was a good time. It's true. I'm great. I'm super impartial and neutral. Ask anyone.
Yeah, ask anyone. You're definitely neutral within there. Okay, so that actually makes sense then. Dressing for what you like. And the Owlins is pretty funny in that, you know, Battlemore, the height of the day kind of thing. It's one of those, do I really have to put a tunic on to go anywhere? Mm-hmm. And then we'll have a nice 40-degree temperature differential. And you're like, I didn't bring enough clothes and I'm not moving 2 feet away from the fire. So.
Yes. And I also, did you see that pop up from Liz? I was discussing doing a Roos outfit too for those cold nights. So that would be great.
Yeah, that was actually the last piece of garb that I worked on right before everything shut down. Was I made myself a big kind of Roos coat and wool with silk and all the buttons and all the rest of that stuff. I put it on once and I was like, and it is too hot. I'm going to wear it when we go winter camping, which is something we get to do out here. Yeah. But yeah, forget about wearing it any other time.
Yeah, it's too hot to even use as a blanket, I bet. Yeah.
So then, okay, along those lines, and you say that it's the kind of end of days and whatnot. And one of the things that I love about the game is that you'll start to find little kind of bits and bobs. I'll say, you know, pieces of garb or pieces of regalia, things that, you know, when you're heading out the door for the event, you always want to make certain you grab because you never know, and it's always come in super handy. Any of those kind of things pop up to you?
So quite a few, but my personal favorite I got from when I was Thanes. This is actually one of the original Thane coins and a super part of Outland's history. It's Brodier's Thane coin from when they made all the first 5.
Okay, wow.
And it's just one of my favorite things because it's simple. I like jewelry. You can't really see on camera, but I'm wearing a whole bunch of stuff. But I don't like being overly gaudy, and it's the perfect little accent piece, and I can tell a story about it. It's nice.
No, that's the same way. I've gotten out of the habit of wearing a lot of jewelry, but when I was made a Thane, Mark Elric kind of passed into my hand and said, you know, congratulations. This is silver, don't lose it. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll wear it a little bit, but yeah, it's especially some of the kind of ideas and the traditions within the Thanes. Like that's something that people get really, really kind of excited about. Membership in or talking about it, or just some of the silly shit we continue to do. But yeah, the Thane, like I've got one of the older Thane medallions kind of thing, and there was one day I had it tied on my belt and a bunch of people pulled me aside and they're like, that's a bad move. Don't do that. Don't go for a run with that thing. You'll knock yourself out.
Oh yeah, have a bruised hip afterwards.
But yeah, no, it's those are definitely, there's so many kind of ideas and traditions, and I'm fortunate that I'm learning them as I kind of go. through a lot of this, and you can always kind of stop someone and they'll be like, hey, what happened with this? Or the Thane medallion is a great example where people will be like, oh, is that one of the original ones? And people get really, really excited and they want to know about it. So even if they don't know you, they'll kind of immediately be drawn to that particular aspect of it. So
yeah, and that's actually a great way to, I don't know, sometimes it's hard to talk to people at events because you don't know what to talk about, or you're talking about something else, and it's a nice little introduction. It makes it easier to talk.
And hopefully after this, people will be like, oh, that Germanicus guy, I really want to talk to him some more.
Yeah, feel free, guys. I'm very chatty. I'll chat your ear off. It's all right.
He's bubbly.
Bubbly.
Germanicus Buble.
I'm not surprised. Is this over yet?
That's why there's a little time clock up in the corner. So it's one of those. Every once in a while, Kyle will probably pop on and be like, stretch.
More.
Stretch.
I got more. Don't worry. I got it all.
Oh, you got it all perfect. Yeah. You'll break out the guitar. You do some tunes.
Yeah. Oh, I can. How are we doing on censorship? Like, I only really play punk music, so.
I've been given the go ahead to do whatever. So.
All right.
Yeah, I'm thinking we need a Germanicus power hour. That voice, that golden voice.
Well, I'm so flattered I don't even know what to say. You've actually made me speechless. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what you want out of a host. No. We shut him up in no time fast. So then, go on.
No. Well, whatever your power is all I was saying. That's good.
Yeah. So then, okay, you grew up second generation. Had the opportunity to go to a number of events. You've been to a number of different kingdoms. So do you have a favorite, I'd say, favorite event or a favorite war?
I have both. There was an old event in Callantyre. I don't think it happens anymore. It was a baronial event called the Bloody Trident. It was super cool. Every sort of period gambling that you can think of was there, and your site token was a bag of coins that you could gamble with. It was a great time. It's one of my all-time favorite memories as a kid and in the SCA. Mm-hmm. Favorite war changes a lot. I grew up here in the Stories of Estrella. I like Estrella a lot. I really like Battlemore. It's the perfect balance between just kind of having fun and fighting, yet still doing cool learning stuff in between. I really dig it. And I like the mountains. It's not humid. It's just hot. I can deal with that. So.
Okay. So then adding on to that question, how do you think that now that you're a peer, that's going to change?
Well, it's going to be a lot more about making fun. So part of everything growing up, how do I say that? Part of growing up in the SCA, you really notice everyone making the effort to make everything fun. And growing up in it, you just enjoy the fun. You run around, you have the free food, you do the crazy party tricks, you have the fun games or the weird chats around campfires. But there's this kind of awakening moment where you're like, oh, I have to make this too. This is part of giving back to the community and also just making a new fun time, not letting it get boring. So I have a couple of ideas of how we're going to do that. Like, I love running around with the Wobbly H crew, but there's some other fun that can be had too, right? There's interesting different ideas. I actually really want to at some point do a completely period Roman guild, not a brothel, totally different. I would like to do the clay pipes and the mugs and the chain to water and stuff like that. I think that would be neat, but that's a ways off. So
okay, so I don't actually know anything about that. So what is that? It's
basically a bar. It's a Roman bar, or collegiums would have these places where they'd all meet up and drink wine and discuss business. If you watch HBO's Rome, they have an example of one of the collegiums. That's a great portrayal of it, I think. Or at least it's the one I grew up with liking, and that's the one I'm going to make. So that's what I'm doing.
So, okay, I love the idea. And I'm going to continue to push you to do that because we kind of all start to find our own things that we want to be able to highlight, really. And so I think it's fantastic because we quite often, people get stuck into either their persona or their ideas on what they're doing, or very honestly, with a lot of events, you turn up, you set up, you have a beverage, you hang out, you get up the next morning, you fight, you have a beverage. And so we fall into this pattern with it where we can take those opportunities now to kind of set up and choose to set up like the Collegium at an event or whatever, take over a corner and tell people, hey, we're going to be doing this, or we'll be discussing this at this point in time. And I think that it's fantastic. It adds detail, it adds depth, it adds color and flavor in a way that is sometimes nicer than people just sitting around the hall bullshitting all day, which is legit, totally fine. But, why not maybe do something while you're doing it or whatever?
Well, and especially if it's something no one else has seen before, so it's a little more fair and it's a little bit easier for everyone to pitch in, right? Like, oh, hey, let's try this new Knucklebones game or something like that.
Yeah, that was the last Cairgalen Midwinter. It was great because we had some newcomers that we said, hey, turn up to this event, do just to show up, we'll get you in garb, we'll get you ready to go kind of thing. And they turned up and they kind of like, they sheepishly like walk up like, hey, I recognize you. Do you remember me? And it's one of those, oh, sweet. I'm glad you're here. Sit down.
Yep. We're doing this now.
What? And, give them a bag of Chookies, give them some dice and everything else. Well, I don't know how to play this game. Don't worry. It's easy.
Yeah.
Figure it out as we go. And don't worry, we're going to change it every round anyways, because that's just the kind of fun things we like to do to people. But no, I love that idea. I would actively encourage and would try to participate in my own limited way kind of thing.
Oh, and it was one of my favorite things moving out here too, because after that Bloody Trident event, that's back in Callantyre, and I never gotten to play any more games like that again. You guys just bust out these boxes, like, what are these? I want one. I want 3 actually.
So hit what? Oh, God, it was Pitch Pot. I was like, it's lawn darts, whatever game they were always playing down in Alberon.
Oh yeah.
Progressively louder and funnier, especially 50th year. They said, you guys can't camp here. There's no electricity and no water. And we were all like, you mean it's just like home?
Yeah, it's fine.
So they left an abandoned field. So they just brought out the pitch pot stuff and just started chucking darts. It was fun to watch.
Yeah.
There was a question here from Sir Angus of Blackmore. Tell them about how you boys won the big prize at Bloody Trident.
Okay. So I would like to say, as a kid, you learn certain things like compassion and teamwork, and the value of friends, and that's really important for anyone that's listening to this. Be good to your friends, and don't just use them to get all of their chookies so you can buy the best prize of the tournament. That's just not a good thing to do. You should never do that. What happened was, all my friends showed up to this event. We're all 13, 14-ish. We're playing these silly games, having fun. Some of us get really good at certain games. We all decide like, oh, hey, you stay at this game. You stay at this game. We'll just keep making Chuki, right? The little baubles and stuff that we were betting with. So this all happens, and we see that one of the prizes is this box. This is really nice handcrafted box, and we all camp with each other. We always see each other each summer. So we kind of make this agreement that if we get the box together, we'll all use it together as a cooler for our sodas and stuff that we would have at camp. Because the kids' tent was always like, here's your box of cookies, here's your sleeping bag, go feral, go have fun. So we decided to get this box, and we kind of want some things throughout. There was like a hat, so I don't remember who got it. Someone got this hat, someone got some weird trinkets, but we decided to save our money. We don't understand betting or bidding in an auction, though. So it gets to this box, and then start the betting at like 500 Chookies, and we're like, 1,000! And everyone looks at us and like, you don't have 1,000. We had to count out every single piece, and we ended up running off of this box. One of our friends' moms was not happy about this. She really wanted it. And as soon as she figured out that she had 1,000, we just said 2,000, and it was done. We were good. It was a great box. I still have it. I still use it for camping, actually. Sorry, guys. It is used as a cooler sometimes.
I was like, isn't that the box that you bring everywhere?
Yeah. That one.
Ill-gotten gains. Nice.
Oh, totally fair. Fairly gotten. There was an agreement.
There was an agreement. 6 months of the year it goes here, and 6 months of the year it stays here.
Yeah. exactly. You get it.
I understand how these things work. Or it's one of those, hey, did you unpack that from the car? I don't know what you're talking about. I'll see you next week.
Yep. Have a good one.
Right on. Okay, well, that's unsurprising from you. But I do like how you've put out the good message to the youth of the Outlands. Be good to your friends.
Oh, yeah.
In the system immediately.
They'll get you out of so much trouble. My friends are the best. They are.
All right, so events you've been to, events you really like, the ideas that you really need to start looking at this. And it's a conversation we often have about the kind of producer-consumer culture, in the sense that not even just as a peer, it should be everyone's job to produce in some manner. And that can be sitting at gate, that can be helping run royal rooms, that like any of the million moving parts that really kind of go into putting on a good event or just putting an event on. It really is your job now to step up a little bit more and to help out with these kinds of things. So I'm not really going anywhere with that. In fact, I'm not even sorry. I'm lecturing you, and you do shit because I have told you to do it, and you do it, and it's fantastic.
They're not supposed to know I do it. It's a secret. It's always undercover, and then we make it look like fun, so everyone does it. It's a great time.
Yeah, no, it is. It's always also funny too, because I get very single-minded when I'm on tasks, and quite often people go to step in front of you, like, "Oh, hey, fan, how's it going?" And it's one of those like. Charged through with a waved sorry right as I'm going through them. He was an adult. He stepped in front of me. Sonara's over there like, yeah, when you knock kids over, and it's like, okay, no. Or when their majesties have me run away and one of their guards tries to stop me, I still feel terrible for Ulrich. I know he says he's fine, but
it was great. It was great. The kids had a great time.
They didn't even bother to see if he was okay. The chest had spilled everywhere. They were like, "It's mine now."
That's what my friends and I called recognizing opportunity. That's what that is. But they should have definitely helped him up. Definitely help him up.
Don't push him over again. Come on.
No.
It's sticking with the theme of the past kind of thing. Was there a particular experience or a particular just something you saw or something that you participated in that really kind of solidified your desire to be a knight, to be a member of the chivalry?
Ooh, there's a lot of little examples, right? Like lots of little things that would pop up in my head. Like, oh, that would be, I want to be a knight. Of course, everyone thinks of the knight in shining armor, the guy that's the champion of the field, or the person that is always, I don't know, he's the rose among weeds, right? This guy stands out because he's the prettiest, or he's the coolest, or the most I don't know another word. The most badass fighter of all time. It doesn't matter. That's what the people see. But really, meeting a whole bunch of knights that were doing subtle things, the littlest things, without could be helping someone go home, right, or helping someone through a hard time if they're having a hard time at an event, or responding in a crisis moment. So Lily's has lots of storms. I have a lot of examples of people locking everything down, figuring out how to deal with the storm. That's a very common one. But really, my knight, Zach, was the one that really pulled it. You got pretty nailed down. Thanks, Talon. Oh, look at him. He was actually one of the examples, for the record. Look what happened.
But I could see that if he was in his I'm a Roman versus I'm a Broman, when he puts the head all the way back on his head.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's just, he's always a Broman. He's just covert sometimes. That's all that is. It's creepy.
Miss you, man.
Miss you, Talon. Oh, but actually, so yeah, I could ramble on. Really, there were three important guys that stood out to me that kept doing these little things. I ended up squiring to one of them, So that made it a little bit easier to learn and do things like that. But it solidified my belief to just keep doing good no matter what was watching. And those were the kinds of guys I wanted to be. And yeah, the long and short was like I wanted to be a hero as opposed to just being a player in the game. And I wanted to follow those examples.
So, okay, it's a conversation that it's something just kind of percolating, whatever, because we really do say, okay, these are my SGA heroes. And so that actually came up in the comments as well. Lady Refnal, I think it used to be Ilva. I'm going to screw that up. No, I know who that is. I'm just screwing up. So, okay, do you say that you have SCA heroes? Do you call them heroes? Do you think that they are the people that inspired you or continue to inspire you? It's semantics, but that sometimes, I mean, words are important. You've said that yourself.
Yeah, very important. I have stories, right? I have stories of people being heroic, and heroes are like, not to get too pedantic about it, but like heroes are heroes every day. Heroes are heroes when they're making their coffee and when they're tying their shoes, right? It's just a state of being for some people. And then for others, we have to work really hard to be like, do the good thing, walk the old lady across the street, or walk the old guy across the street, or do the good thing. That person needs help with that. Go help them. I have a collection of stories about lots of people. It's just I learn through stories and learn through watching people. I could go. Do you want me to tell you a couple? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, go for it. They'll cut us off if they need to.
No, good. All right, that's right. So I think one of my earliest memories was watching the Lilies battlefield, and there was this fight. There was a battle going on, and I knew a good chunk of the people out in there. And I'm not going to name names to aggrandize or contribute to egos. So I saw these people running forward, and this one particular person with a 4-foot mace run in front of everyone and take a 4-foot leap and smash into the crowd. And then I heard laughter. I just heard giggling. Right? That's all I heard was this booming laughter over this clatter of shields and swords. Like, that was really cool. That was awesome. I want to do that someday. There was another one of these guys at Gulf Wars. Our whole army was tired. They were starting to kind of not complain, but they're starting to notice that they're tired and maybe not wanting to run, and that maybe the battle's not worth it. And this guy looked at all of them and then looked at me because I was fighting at the time. And he's like, you're not going to let that stop you, are you? And just ran down to take this point and stood there by himself and held this point while we all move forward. Things like that come to mind.
That was the great. Who's going to run with me? Follow me into the breach. And they just
go.
Nope. Yeah, follow that. I don't need that out.
I'll watch. You're a great distraction. I'm gonna keep walking. Hold on.
Watching me? No, yeah. There's something that keeps coming back to me when I think about this, and well, actually, there's two different ones that play into this, and one of them was we're at his 50th year, and again, it was it was His Majesty Colgrim, and we were kind of wandering around, the whole bunch of us and everything else. And I think kind of like we were looking at Red Bull and everything else, and it was one of those, hey, maybe Finn can become a Varangian. And His Grace was like, no, he's not his own man. He can't make that decision. And I'll tell you, I was pissed. Because it was a conflation of ideas for a number of these things, but it was one of those, he was absolutely right in that I was squire to someone, so there were greater conversations, and I was terrible at this. Everyone around me was always like, oh, I should really check with my peer and make certain that it's okay that I do these things, and I was always like, sure, whatever, I'll do it. Hey, Bela? Is it cool if I do this? And he's like, why are you asking me, man? Do your own shit. So it was a very different relationship, but a good relationship. It was exactly the kind of relationship that I needed within this game. But I remember that definitely being a conversation piece of you know what, I'm not gonna be, or I don't want to be looked at or put in a position where it's just kind of like, yeah, he can't make his own decision, and I'm like, that's not sitting well with me.
Yeah.
Again, it's a conflation more than anything else.
Well, and it takes away the opportunity for someone to do the good thing. I don't. My knight was not like that with me either. He wasn't. Well, there were very few things. Let me put it that way. Some things I just needed to toughen up and go do, and then other things he just let me. He's like, why are you saying very much the same thing? Why are you asking me? Go do what you're gonna do. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And you learn from those. Again, your experiences to get experience.
Oh, yeah. Believe me, this mouth has gotten me into plenty of experiences. Never being dragged out of my cot while people are throwing my boots at me saying, it's time for you to get up and get fighting. They just they chose to do that to Gabe. They just looked at me and made some direct threats, and I said, okay.
Well, that's wisdom, right? Because there's intelligence and wisdom is learning from other people's mistakes. And we're very lucky to have Gabe. So, I mean, I love that guy. He makes me cool stuff all the time. He hits me in the sternum so hard I want to puke sometimes too. But yeah, great guy. Great example.
Great example. And that's actually, so that's the second part of it kind of thing, is that there was a vigil in the woods that was put on by Duke Hrothgar and Sir Bohemond, and invited a bunch of knights, invited their squires, and we all kind of hiked into the woods a little bit, sat around the campfire all night, and there were particular rules and requirements for it, in that it really was this, we are trying to recreate, we are doing this experience. And it was absolutely fantastic, and something that I've gone back to over and over again. And in some instances, some of the things that Sir Johan and I have kind of modeled our medieval hiking or Viking hiking or whatever you want to particularly call it kind of thing. It's just that idea of how can we make this a completely immersive experience, and then how can we get other people involved, anybody that wants to suffer kind of thing. But so actually, let's go ahead. There was a question from Sir Ferris, and this was, what was the biggest hurdle you had to overcome on your path to knighthood?
It's different for everyone. Mine was surety, like being sure of myself. So one of the talks I have a lot with people is the virtue humility is not what most people think it is. I actually thought humility was modesty for a long time. So I would constantly kind of like, oh, whatever, it's just kind of this thing, blah, blah, blah. But humility is honesty with oneself. And that's not to say like, oh, well, I know that I'm the coolest and bestest fighter in all the world. I can do whatever. I can kick anyone's butt. Ha! That's not what it is. It's knowing exactly what you can do. And it's also being sure that you're making good decisions, I guess, as a way I would put it. I struggle with that really hard. Again, growing up as a second gen, there's you have eyes on you at all times. You're constantly trying to figure out if you're doing the right thing based on the judgments around you, but there's not a lot of introspection. And finally, Travis or Zach made me get ready for a tournament. He's like, no, I need you to fight in this tournament. I need you to go do your absolute best, and you're doing it for me. And I got super nervous. I got all sorts of shaking. Like, what if I miss something? What if I'm not good? What if I do this? What if that? And this was going on for months, right? Because he's like, you're going to do this. Just so you know ahead of time, because he knew me, you're going to do this. And it finally came that day of the tournament, and I'm breathing heavy. I'm kind of in my head. And he looks at me. He's like, no. You're here. You're at the tournament. You've done it. Go have fun, but do what you're going to do best. And it really locked it in for me, that moment of, I've done all I can. I'm here, and we're going to have a good time, no matter what. And it was actually one of the best days of fighting I ever had. It was a blast. But that doubt was definitely the hardest part. It popped up in weird places. I had to drive him home from a battle more under interesting conditions. I had never driven someone else's brand new car. Super nervous. Had to get over it. Had to be sure of my driving ability. Came out just fine. Totally fine.
No, that's awesome. And thank you to Sir Ferris for kind of bringing us back on topic, because otherwise it really will just go sideways, because that's what we do with this. But it's a great question, and something to it ties back in with something that was earlier in the chat kind of thing for folks that might feel like they're being passed over or overlooked. Let me see if I can actually get it.
Yeah.
Recommendations you'd have for those who are seeking knighthood but feel passed over, and this was her ladyship's Shiloh. And so, I mean, have at. I mean, you have a clearer head and understanding for most of these things than I feel I do.
So, there's always this talk about becoming, and there is a becoming in knighthood, and there's becoming a better person and being a better person. Well, that's a constant journey. Even if it's 1% a day, you're always becoming. That's the person you have to be. So whatever you're doing, have fun, keep getting better, enjoy what you're doing. And if you're not enjoying what you're doing, take a moment and figure out why. Lots of times I've talked to quite a few people where they have this state they get in is like, well, why not this? Why did this happen? And it's always it's distressing because it has I don't want to say it has nothing to do with them, but it has so much more to do with everything else. And the best way to not feel passed over and to not be passed over or whatever the situation is, be yourself, be good, and keep moving forward, because that's what you got to do. It sounds very optimistic, and I know it's not that easy. There's lots of different hurdles, but keep being.
No, but I think that you raise an incredibly important point, in that we need to maintain and we need to be positive and we need to kind of throw that out there. Coming at most of these things with negativity, and it happens to all of us. Like, there are just days. Like, I know that there were days where I'd walk around an event or whatever, and I'd have some pissed off expression on my face, or I'd be in my head about something, and people would come up to me and they'd be like, "Is everything okay?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, it's fine." Why? They're like, "Because you look like you're going to kill someone." I was like, "Oh, yeah. Shit. Let me reel that face back in." But so then it sets up a perfect opportunity to think about. We're in a very, very weird time right this minute. And I think that we've got a great joke that a friend of ours kind of started, and it really has made its rounds, where it's one of those, this time apart and this time kind of being locked in has really allowed some of us to go even more feral than usual. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's important that when we do start things back up, when we kind of do start interacting and start having these events again, we need to first remember how it is to be a society. Remember how it is to be a group of people coming together and working towards this idea or working towards something, rather than it just being one of those like, holy shit, everything, it was just, a big pause button in the sky and now we're ready to go. We're exactly where we were before, kind of thing. So I don't know. It's something that I'm thinking about, because I think we do need that kind of general reset. And I think it's important to kind of think of it and move forward in a very positive manner, very deliberate manner.
Well, and that's one of the best pieces of advice that on that note that I received was to be, I'm paraphrasing, but to be the enemy of apathy, because apathy seems to spread when people don't realize they're taking on too much of a burden. So lots of times, especially before all the shutdown and stuff, we would stretch ourselves out, and we would go the extra mile to get to an event. We would do extra projects to try and do an ANS competition, or we would run an ANS I don't run the ANS competitions. I don't want to take credit for anyone else that does that. That's insane. You guys are awesome. But people push themselves. They push themselves, and sometimes they don't realize that things are starting to fall off. The wheels are falling off, and they need to take a moment and breathe. So I don't know. I guess I don't have the answer to it, but the question would be, how do you spread joy? How do you keep moving forward in positive motion while fighting apathy and I don't want to say attrition, exhaustion? I think as a community, we need to really focus on just helping. It sounds so simple and nice, but really just helping each other out. Just, hey, you're doing this event a lot. Do you need a hand with this? Whatever it is. And most people already do that, but just being more aware of it and being sensitive to it.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think that it harkens back to the producer-consumer conversation, right? It's one of those, if we come back and we have an overabundance of producers, an overabundance of people who've taken the time to really say, man, I've had this idea going around in the back of my head, how you're going to be running a collegium for us. Just going to keep plugging that one. But getting out there and getting in front of this and really kind of showing that enthusiasm. Like, I absolutely love that the arts community has just gone and like they've gone gangbangers with this, man. Like, people posting their 50 days of art, people posting all sorts of other things, really just, and it's not only just a, hey, let me show you what I'm doing kind of thing, but it's and what are you doing too? And not like a judgy or not a like, why are you being lazy? Any of that shit. It really is just a super cool opportunity for people to keep connected, man. And that's what we need, that encouragement. So it's fantastic.
Yeah. Oh man.
All right. So this is only because it speaks to the art community as well a little bit in this. And I also think that it's one of the freaking coolest traditions in the Outlands for the Chivalry. So it says, show us and speak to your link in the Baby Knights chain. And this is Graf Johann.
So my link is actually under repair right now. But I have
anywhere. How is it broken?
Well, because iron is a lot stronger than bronze. So that's how metal works. I found that out. Congrats to me. We're going to do some gilding on iron later, but it's in process again. It was ready. Cool.
So I actually have got mine. I made this ridiculously awesome heavy chain.
Yeah, that one hurts.
Was it?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I know that one. Hold on. It's over here somewhere.
Way to fealty, man.
It's a thing.
Yeah, it was super cool to learn the entire process, and Countess Matilda, and then Sir Dietrich, our Master Dietrich, at his shop, Eldonic Studio, excuse me, like walked me through the entire process, able to get it kind of all, because I love learning new things. I love working on a multitude of projects and spaces kind of thing. So it was one of those to find something that was appropriate to the time period, and then be able to put my hand as the feathers on the tail was kind of a neat little thing. But to make it comes out during coronation, and that is about it, because after like a little while, it's one of those, what the shit? Why would you wear this thing?
Yeah, the weight. Oh yeah. It's a cool. I mean, it's very cool for many reasons, but it's a really interesting art project too, because you get to put a spin on the history. I really dig it a lot. Mine's modeled off of a Roman anchor chain too, and that's where I think I'm going to have to end up doing the bronze work around the chain, and we'll see how that works out. Because I have a motto I'm trying to put around it too. So
I can't wait to see it. Like it definitely is one of those neat things, because as soon as the chain comes around during the knighting ceremony, you kind of see everybody like,
oh yeah,
like they'll find theirs quite often, or it also is a wonderful moment of reflection to go back through and like find your knights, or find your grand knights, or find like people that have passed, kind of thing, and be able to honor, to hold that part of history, that tradition in your hands before, adding your link, adding your name to that story and passing it on. Like, it's just, I think that's badass.
It is.
For the 7 minutes I had that, well, for like the 6 minutes, 7 minutes I had that thing, as I like ran to the back of court, added my link in, ran right back into court. Yes, Your Majesty, here's the chain.
Well, let me tell you, 7 months has not made it any less cool. So
yeah, it was very, very fun. So one of the things too, I know that during the pause and everything else, you still have had an opportunity, like you are living with a couple people in the SCA. You guys have been out, you've been doing a couple things, going hiking or doing some fighting. And so it's one of those, do you have, like, I don't know, goals or ambitions for squires, for a household? Like, where do you see yourself going? What are you looking at your ambitions for kind of the next 3 years?
So for the next 3 years, I I have many ambitions and no set goals, very much on purpose.
Okay.
I grew up in a community full of households, and I've seen both sides of the coin. I know how that goes, and the same thing, I've seen many different knight squire relationships. Not currently looking at anyone for squire right now. Not that I'm closed off to the idea, but mainly my goal is to be as helpful and as nurturing to new fighters as I can as we go along. And I lucked out. I really did luck out. I live with a really great community of fighters. And we're all friends. That's the thing, is we are all fighters, but we're friends first. So whether that's a household or not, whatever, but we are always going to be hanging out and having a good time. And now it's kind of our goal to spread that good time to other people.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
it's definitely, I don't know, like you said, do good. Any opportunity that, if you're having fun, if you're interested, then it's going to attract people around you to be like, man, what are they doing? I want in on some of that.
Yeah.
And that's really kind of the best way to go about doing it. I am going to push you a little bit, since you said it's your favorite event. Battlemore. What would your ideal Battlemore be? And more importantly, how are you going to step up and make that happen?
My ideal Battlemore would never end.
Let's maybe just like, what's a tournament? What's a thing you'd want to be able to bring to the community and say, hey, I think this is
up, Finn. I missed your question. I'm sorry.
And look at the time. I gotta go now.
Hey, no, was that a tournament idea or something you'd want to bring? Was that what you said?
Yeah, anything like that.
I didn't hear your question. It froze out. Okay.
Like, just think about one thing.
I'm actually a really big fan of small arms tournaments, like a knife fight or things like that. One thing. I want a weird SCA version of Capture the Flag. And I know that's oddly specific, but we need more cool stuff that maybe the entire site can be involved in. And I just thought Capture the Flag would be a great way to do that. But it could be something like, get the goat, run across the site, get someone's goat, bring it across the site. And I don't know, something like that. I have lots of ideas. No plans. I'm working on the planning part. That's what I'm working on.
I'm putting the seed out there for people, because again, it when people are excited and bring something and bring that enthusiasm in, it really does it captures people's imagination. It makes them say, man, that's out of the ordinary, and I'd really like to try to do that.
Yeah. Well, and there's something like, there's tons of half-baked plans at events that happen. Mm-hmm. And as long as you're understanding and cool with the fact that they're not going to reach fruition, or they're not going to become the whole plan, and everyone's cool with running with them, they make I'm just saying cool so much. They make some of the most interesting moments in SCA. Mm-hmm. Gabe and some of the Tyr or Barrick and Tyr, same person.
Yeah,
Barrick and Gabe, these guys had this stone D20 that was giant, and they started running around site like it was a D&D campaign. That was hilarious. Worked great. Got a whole bunch of people in on it. Had a great time. Or when people jam at I'm forgetting the word. Everyone dances. It's a giant.
The Haflas?
Yes, those. Like the plan is that people show up and play music, and if people hang out and dance, that's fun. That's great. Things like that. But if you have any sort of idea like that, just go out and do it. That's the whole point. That's why we're here, is to go out and have fun and make things work, or see if they don't work.
I'll just tag this one in there. Squire Kata, who would make up your base team for Capture the Goat. I think she's on your team. Actually, no, she's on my team.
Well, so here's the thing. I already got a team. So now that we're talking about it, I'm thinking 5-man teams are a great rule. I have Uhtred, I have Fuel, and I have to talk to Michio. I'm sure he'll be on my team. And we got Kata in there. That would be 5.
See, I'm going to go with 5-person teams, and I'm going to go recruit off of the Helga Ball teams. We're going to kick your ass.
Bring it. Sneaky. Sneaky guys. And strong ones.
We'll just kind of tag this one in towards the end here because I think it's a good question from Mr. Sakalina. Do you feel like you've missed out on things getting knighted not long before the pandemic?
I can't say no, I have. I don't feel like that because I went to Australia and then everything shut down. That was the last event I got to go to. So that's been weird. But I'm making the best of it. It's been interesting to sit at home and pretend we're going to events and order pizza during creative discussions, like the other one that we had. I think that was back whatever time that was last year. It is strange because in the SCA you're so in tune with the community sometimes in ways that you don't know, that when it's all shut down, you start missing things you didn't know you missed. Like, hey, I just had these chats with people or this or that, and I don't know. But there will be time.
And I mean, if I can, from my own experience kind of thing, it is, I mean, things didn't shut down, but I got knighted right at the beginning of being Baron. And so I feel like I was trying to learn how to be a good Baron. I was trying to learn how to be a knight. It's something I'm still working on. And I think for the best of them, I think it is a continual learning process. And so I appreciate your time for these conversations because it helps me to internalize and think about how can I be a better knight? How can I be that inspiration? How can I be that bad example? Unfortunately, that one comes a lot easier for me. But, that's the whole wisdom thing, right?
Yeah, wisdom versus intelligence. Don't worry, I just got lots of wisdom. I ain't so bright sometimes.
Right sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I think part of it is just keeping these discussions up because I think these discussions need to happen more, especially in open forum. I think this helps a lot. It helps me a lot. I get to be part of it. It's nice to finally get to be a part of the discussion and be like, yeah, I'm definitely belong here. You guys signed me up. I'm here. Let's go.
Oh, that's awesome. So then we're right at about 60 minutes. And I think that I've enjoyed all of our conversation today, but I kind of want to be respectful to our hosts and to all of the folks who have jumped in. So again, thank you to everybody who offered questions. My apologies if we didn't get to all of the questions. They're all fantastic. It really was not no, I'm not going to do that. It's more just this is an organic process and we'll have to figure out as we go along kind of thing. So Germanicus, thank you very much for coming and for talking with me, for being the first guinea pig or first victim, however you want to look at it. Any kind of closing thoughts or closing statements that you've got?
Thanks for having me. And to anyone else out there listening, keep doing what you're doing and keep having fun. So thanks, y'all.
Perfect. Then again, well, thank you to everyone for joining us this evening. And please be certain to join us for the next episode of Peering at the Outlands. We're going to have two far more articulate individuals. That's going to be Mistress Sabia, or as we all refer to her, Sabiha, and Mistress Jean-Marie Dubois of Port Rouge on February 20th for a discussion with the Laurels. So again, good night, everyone. Be safe and be well. Can't wait to see you all soon. Bye now.
Later on.